Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Good Morning Let's Basketball. We've got a lot of interesting topics on the chopping block today. Make sure you guys stick around to the middle and end of the video because we've got some great segments for you guys to watch kind of towards the end. Additionally, make sure that you guys leave a comment, like, subscribe, as well as engage with us. Ask us any questions that you guys have on the topics that we're covering, as well as your opinions on some of the things that we have to say. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get straight into it. Kevin, can you start us off with our first topic?
One of the centers I thought was going to be around for a really long time just because how dominant they were early on in their career and even halfway through, especially when they hit their kind of early prime, was Demarcus Cousins. I don't know if you guys remember prime Demarcus Cousins, bro, but statistically his best year was his last year in Sacramento. He was averaging 28, 11, and 5. At the time, that was during any time, that's obviously very good, but injuries got to him. When he went to New Orleans, his points dropped a little bit, but he was still getting double doubles with 20, 25 and 13 and 24 and 12 alongside with Anthony Davis. I remember seeing these two play at a game in Chicago, and it was they were an unstoppable duo. But unfortunately, Boogie, Jesus Christ, got hit with some injuries, and he's never been the same. Last time he played was the 2021-2022 season, where he averaged 9 points, 5 rebounds, and assist. But if we take prime Boogie and we put him up against current day Joel Embiid or Nikola Jokic, would you guys say that he's better?
I wouldn't say that he's better. I think he'd be a top 5 center in the league today. I don't think the centers in the league weren't as good as prime Demarcus Cousins was in his Sacramento days. And he was just an unstoppable force, like you said. I think he was 270, 6'10". And
he's a big boy.
He was killing. He had 27 points, like you said, he was averaging. And he was just really good. And he could back down centers. And we even saw when Cat was trying to back him down, that one picture that went viral, Cat could barely back him down.
True, man. He was a big body. And he was so fun to watch play, too. I remember, during that last season in Sacramento, he had a handful of 50-point games. And in those 50-point games, he could shoot the three very well, or just throughout his whole career, he was able to shoot the three. He was even ice-wing on the wing sometimes. He could hit the mid-post jumper, as well as obviously play bully ball and just demolish whoever was down there. But you said if prime Demarcus Cousins was playing right now, he'd definitely be top 5. Absolutely. Shit, I think he'd be the 3rd best center. I can't really think of another center that would probably be better than him. A name that comes to mind would be Cat, but I don't think a prime Cat is anywhere near a prime Demarcus Cousins was. And do you guys think he currently deserves to be in the NBA? I don't think so. I think he's definitely past that time. I remember watching him play last season, the 2021-2022 season. He only played 31 games. He played for Denver. And just watching him play, it kind of almost hurt to watch. It literally looked like it hurt him to move. He was horribly slow, even slower than he already was. Wasn't very coordinated, and he just doesn't have it anymore, which kind of sucks. So that's kind of my opinion on that. But I think he can maybe find a backup role somewhere. Maybe. I feel like I said, it's kind of past that time, the injuries, the age, and his style of play. I don't really know if he has that shot anymore, just because I haven't seen him playing forever. He barely played in Denver.
I think he's playing in Puerto Rico right now. So and it seems like no team wants to give him a chance to give him a backup role, but I definitely do think he could still make an NBA team. Again, he's not going to be that same player that we saw in Sacramento, but I still do think that he could have a veteran voice in the locker room or a veteran presence on the team and be a backup role for one of these NBA teams that could use a backup center, or even a young team I don't know, the Cavs or something could maybe use them, or even the Bulls could use a backup center, because I think Andre Drummond was taking a mental health break or something, maybe beginning of the first couple games of the season.
Oh, what you said about him possibly being a backup on a team. I feel like teams would rather go out and get a younger center that has more potential. Obviously, having that youth out there definitely helps, especially at the center position. Someone that's able to actually jump and grab rebounds and contest shots. I feel like right now, he would primarily be better on the offensive end, but he still isn't good enough on the offensive end currently to make a team.
After those injuries, he did go down and decline in his offensive game and stuff. I don't think he's the same player, but I don't know. Who knows? I just don't think that the NBA or any NBA teams want to give him a chance and find out after his Denver season. And I don't know if it's because of the style of play or if how he did act when he did play. When we all know how DeMarcus Cousins is. He's loud. He gets those flagrant fouls. He makes his presence known on the court. So I don't know if that has something to do with him not getting a contract in the NBA as well.
Could be. I mean, like you said, maybe a team will give him a chance. Probably that does sound like something the Bulls would do. They usually go out and get has-beens.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have hit on pretty much all the points with DeMarcus Cousins. I do agree with prime DeMarcus Cousins would probably be in the top 5 just of centers, just because off the top of my head I think of AD, Jokic, and Embiid. That's the first 3 spots, and then DeMarcus Cousins kind of fills in one of the 4th or 5th. But to me, I think it might be a little bit overboard to say that prime DeMarcus Cousins could be better than Jokic or Embiid. I think when you look at just what those 2 players have accomplished individually for their teams, as well as themselves and their career, their career accomplishments mean more than what DeMarcus Cousins was able to do. And I think that that's just from Jokic and Embiid being more of a, I don't know what you would call it, but it's more of like Jokic and Embiid are almost franchise players, which I think is sort of rare, not rare, but not very common, I guess you would say. And DeMarcus Cousins never really, to me, seemed like the type of franchise player that could, win you a title or anything like that. So, yeah, I mean, like you guys said, I agree with most of the points. I just think that, Jokic is a 2-time, almost 3-time MVP, and Embiid has obviously done a lot in Philly to kind of cement his legacy. Now, has he done more than DeMarcus Cousins? I could see an argument being made for DeMarcus Cousins and Embiid being closer, but when it comes to Jokic, I think that one's a little bit of a jump up.
Yeah, I mean, I still think Embiid kind of blows him out the water when it comes to this because Embiid has actually been like a high level player in the playoffs. I mean, he's only ever made it to the second round. Plus, he has an MVP, so he definitely has that on him.
Yeah.
But to what you said about you don't think DeMarcus Cousins could lead a franchise, to be honest, we never really got to see him get an attempt at it in his prime. I mean, his top years were when he was in Sacramento, and Sacramento was horrible back then. Like, they're nowhere near like what they are now. They just recently got good this season, and they were decent last year. But when he got to New Orleans, there was a lot of upside because he was playing with Anthony Davis. They were on a little bit of a better team, but they only had 2 seasons. And I believe one of the years that they did make the playoffs, but injuries, like they had AD there, they had Cousins. Like at the time, those were probably the 2 worst players to have on your team if you wanted a healthy team, just in general. So I felt like had we got to see it, we can probably say he could be as good as these guys. But his career was cut too short to say that he was not able to lead a franchise, I believe.
The Sacramento Kings never made a playoff appearance with Boogie in his prime, so we never got to see that as well. And I don't remember what the record was or what the Pelicans standings were in the NBA when DeMarcus Cousins was on the team. But what do you think they were, like a 6th seed? 6th,
6th or 7th, yeah.
They were like a lot lower of a seed.
I don't remember them. Like I remember the duo coming out All-Star break when he got whispered in his ear that he was getting traded, and that happened. And I thought it was going to be really good at the time because those 2 centers, those were like the 2 top big men in the league at the time, and I thought it would have been sick to see them play, but it ended up not really working out as well as everybody hoped it would. But I want to go back to the Embiid and Jokic thing. I don't think that DeMarcus Cousins' prime is anywhere close to Embiid or Jokic. Like Kevin said, I think Embiid blows him out the water, and then Nikola Jokic is above that as well. And Embiid cemented his legacy, like you said, in the 76ers. He just got his first MVP. He has that playoff experience. We'll see what the 76ers do this season. I don't know if James Harden is going to be back with them or not. I think it's looking like he's not. And then I wanted to say also, there was this list going into the season last year made by persources.com. They had the top 30 centers ranked. And I think prime DeMarcus Cousins would probably be 4th on this. So they had Nikola Jokic going 1, Joel Embiid going 2, 3 was Anthony Davis, 4th was Rudy Gobert, and Bam was 5th. So I definitely think a prime DeMarcus Cousins would probably be 4th or 3rd.
Yeah, I think Davis did kind of switch to that center role once he got to LA. Plus, like I think it's a lot easier on his body. He doesn't have to play more of like a not like a wing, but he doesn't stretch as much like he used to in New Orleans. So technically now speaking, I think it would definitely be neck and neck with Anthony Davis right now if you took a prime DeMarcus Cousins and put him with Anthony Davis, I think at least. I just wonder what his rating on 2K would be with the way that they've been dropping these numbers recently, which is conveniently our next topic today. Just going to be going over some of the NBA 2K ratings. There's been a lot of controversy, always is, they've been dropping those pictures of the players just being a lot more sweaty, trying to improve the graphics a little bit, but we're still going to buy it. We're still going to play it just because that's what we do. We're hooked. But I think one that caught everyone's eye the most was Mr. Jimmy Butler. He is ranked the 9th highest player this year, and he's tied with 2 other people, Luka Doncic and Jason Tatum. Now, when you think, and it's a 95 overall, to me, that's a little way too fucking high for Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler's great, especially for the absolute shit he just took in the playoffs or in the finals, not the whole playoffs. In the finals, wasn't really playing that great. Even towards the end of the Eastern Conference Finals, he was making very big plays, but he wasn't shooting that well from the field. 95 overall, I'm thinking he's more like 90, 91. I mean, when you look at other players that are 90, 91, we have James Harden, we have Kyrie, Donovan Mitchell's on 92. I think that is a little bit more his range. I think 92 is still kind of stretching it just a little bit.
I think 80.
But 95 is absolutely fucking insane.
I think he should definitely get like an 88 or 89.
I've got some strong opinions, I think, on this because I looked at like the 2K ratings of players after they go to the finals or win a finals. And what I saw was like Kawhi Leonard's 2K rating, I think, went up 6 or 7, went from like a 93 or a 94 to a 97 after he took Toronto to the finals and won. LeBron has been the same the whole time pretty much, so he doesn't really count. But another one is like Jokic. I think Jokic went from last season being like a 90, what was he, a 94, 96 maybe? Now he's like a 98. I think he's the highest rated 2K player in the game. So to me, but okay, so here's the thing, right? Number one, I'm talking about players that won it and got a 2K rating bump. But where I'm going with this is Jimmy Butler has now gone to 2 finals in the last 5 years. To me, that's pretty damn fucking impressive. I think that warrants somebody getting a little bit of a bump up, especially on the 2K ratings. 95, I will agree, is a little bit high, but I could definitely see them making a case. Like I would have thought 92, 93. That's where I would have put him. I don't think he's the same player as James Harden or Donovan Mitchell. I mean, this guy literally took his team all the way to the finals and almost won, but he was going up against one of the hardest teams we've seen in years. So yeah, to me, I think that I think you guys are underselling Jimmy Butler in his bag. I mean, I get the what's the word? The hesitation to want to give him a 95 because, you made valid points, Kevin. Towards the end of the season, he took more of a playmaking role and he was missing the shots that he needed to make. I remember like you and me had a conversation when we were watching the playoffs and we were saying like, this dude needs to like hoop, like he needs to play his game and actually perform, because if he didn't, that Heat team wasn't anything. So that alone to me just kind of proves that he is deserving of a little bit of a higher 2K rating. I think 88 is way too damn low. 95 is a little high. I think he would settle in at like 92, 93 is where I could see him. But yeah, I mean, I think again, when you take your team to the finals 2 times in the last few years, it's impressive. It means something.
But even with what you just said, like you only talked about Jimmy Butler in the playoffs during that month and a half of the season. We need to look at him the whole season. During the actual regular season, I didn't see too much coverage on Jimmy Butler. I don't want to say he's average. Obviously, he's a great player, but he's not doing I don't believe he's putting in enough work throughout the entire season to come into the next season getting a 95 overall. And you mentioned Kawhi about how his overall jumped from like a 94 to a 97. I said it before, that Kawhi was damn near the best basketball player I've ever seen. In Toronto, the years before that, they would barely make the conference finals because they either would lose to LeBron in the conference finals or before it. All they did was swap one player, DeMar DeRozan, for Kawhi Leonard, and then all of a sudden they win the finals against the prime Warriors. And I think Kawhi Leonard is that year. Prime Kawhi Leonard is definitely better than prime Jimmy Butler, or like whatever you want to say. But
I
that
mean,
season,
yeah, that
the
that
season he had
Kawhi Leonard was
was
rated
special.
97.
That's
Sucks.
that season he had was absolutely special. So I feel like that rating was definitely more deserved. He was the best player in the world at the time.
But he got, like I said, he got a better rating than what Jimmy Butler got this year. And again, I don't necessarily agree with the 95, but I don't think it's crazy that he got bumped up a little bit.
Yeah.
But the thing too is like his regular season wasn't that great as well. They finished as like an 8th seed, and he was got averaged 22.9 points, and then postseason is where he turned it up to 26.9.
But we've talked about it, right? Several times. We even had a come
But the
I was
rating
gonna
has to do with regular season and postseason. It can't just be, oh, you had a good playoffs. Here's a 95.
yeah, like I don't know. To me, I think I've been very adamant about this. I do personally believe that when it comes to the best athletes in the league, they don't care about the regular season as much as they do the playoffs, and that's normal. Why would you, right? You have 82 games where you can possibly get injured, hurt, whatever. That doesn't matter. What matters is how well there's a part of it that does matter because that's how you get in the playoffs, right? Yes, I know, but overall, to me, playoffs is the most important part. So if you show up there, that's what matters over the course of the season. I don't care if you, I mean, think about Austin Reeves, right? Averaging 13, 3 and 3, but he is getting paid and his 2K rating is like a 80, what is it? 83, 84. Yeah, I mean, we won't go into Austin Reeves because that's, a whole thing, but I just, yeah, I don't know. I think it makes sense, right? You perform well in the playoffs. 2K is in the late part of their development of their game, and they're like, we're gonna give them a good rating. Makes sense. Get to the final. I mean, I think it would be weird if Jimmy Butler, the guy who brought the Heat to the finals this year and a few years ago in the bubble, wasn't rated this high. You know what I mean? Like to play well against a good Boston team and a good, I mean, every team was, a lot of teams were good. Philly was good. Boston was good. So I don't know. It makes sense to me.
Another way to look at this is just seeing what like other players were rated too. I mean, Jimmy Butler rated a 95. He was rated higher than Kawhi Leonard, Devin Booker, Dame Lillard, Anthony Davis, Shea, John Morant, Donovan Mitchell, Kyrie. I feel like those guys had better overall. I don't want to say a better overall season, but played better for longer throughout the whole season. And the fact that he's only one overall less than Curry, KD, Embiid, LeBron, and Giannis, like Jimmy Butler's great, but he's not in the realm of too many of those guys like Curry, like Luka, LeBron, absolutely not, and then Giannis.
So real quick, I'm not like trying to be argumentative, but I'm questioning, and I think it's probably good for the podcast if we're have difference of opinion. But what's it called? I mean, how much more so 2 questions. Number 1, without Jimmy Butler, how far does that Heat team go? So I want you guys to answer that. And then 2, with how much more would Jimmy Butler have to do to prove that he's in the conversation of the most notable names in the NBA, like you said, Kyrie, Luka, Giannis, Jokic, all them?
Played good throughout the whole entire season. This Miami Heat team struggled the whole entire year. They were a play-in team. They weren't even a playoff team. So I feel like that's very important to the thing. And then you mentioned, where would that Heat team be without Jimmy Butler? They definitely wouldn't be in the playoffs because they weren't even in the playoffs with him. So I feel like that's kind of irrelevant to rating a player on 2K. Like take this player off the team and then see like what have an effect on his overall. Like I feel like that's not very like a good comparison.
It's not a direct correlation, but basically it's saying, if you took Jimmy Butler off that team, he obviously was incredibly important. And if you gave the most valuable player on a team that went to the finals, like an 88 overall or an 86 overall, I think you'd be questionable, because then that team on 2K could never play up against the like Boston Celtics, right? Like we're talking about 2K here. If you run with Jimmy Butler as an 86 or an 88, and you run with Adebayo or I don't know what he is. He's like an or something like that. And then the rest of the players are between 70 and 82. I just feel like that team would not be competitive against, the Celtics or some of the other teams that they actually beat.
Yeah,
it'd be more
again,
realistic.
then again, I feel like that's just like not logic. Like it's a video game at the end of the day, and Bam's rated
For
an 8
sure.
too.
For sure. The number 95 doesn't really mean shit. I mean, how can we actually like
I
know
mean, it
what the
really
fuck?
doesn't, but like I feel like a major part of him to actually deserve a 95 is to play good throughout the whole season. And looking at these players that he's rated higher than and like slightly lower than, all of these guys played good throughout the whole entire season. KD, LeBron, Giannis, Luca. I mean, they didn't make the playoffs, but up until then, he was getting 30-point triple doubles every other game. Curry played great the whole season. Kawhi, when he played, he was great. Devin Booker led his team to one of the highest seeds in the Western Conference. Damian Lillard scored 70 points. Anthony Davis, he played the most games he's played this season than he has in the past 4 or 5 seasons, and he was pretty dominant when he played. So I feel like there he definitely deserved the 94. And he led all rebounds and blocks in the playoffs.
Yeah. The only one that I sort of disagree with that I heard was Curry, just because I know Curry was not doing well at the beginning of the last season when they won the chip, and he kind of like kicked his ass in the high gear. But it doesn't apply actually. So
What do you mean when they won the chip? They didn't win the chip.
No, he's saying
in
going into the beginning of the
2022, beginning of 2022 or 2021, whenever they won the championship.
But that season is irrelevant to the rating for this upcoming season. There's a whole
For
season.
sure. No. Oh, yeah. Okay. That's true. That's true. That's true.
And the Warriors did struggle pretty early on this season, but Curry was still doing his thing. Just Jordan Poole, they were going through that whole drama.
Yeah.
Obviously, it was with Jordan Poole, Draymond, and that's kind of when that anti-Jordan Poole era started. So, and I know what you're going to bring up, and that's fucking.
Go ahead.
Go
say
no,
it.
go.
Say
Ahead.
it.
But okay, so the 2K dropped the trailer, and in one of the animations of the trailer, there's Jordan Poole calling an ISO on Draymond Green, which is pretty funny. Like that was obviously the intent.
Yeah.
Like so obvious.
And
He
it's
even like waves him off too. He's like, or he like brings he either brings
like
yeah.
it was so like I want like this is a one-on-one.
Did you guys see like the full trailer? He hit a buzzer beater 3 on him.
No, that's crazy. I did not see that. That's absurd. That's an absurd thing to do. 2K just likes to instigate, I guess. Ronnie 2K just knows what he's doing.
This isn't gonna be a friendly matchup. I don't think. That's just my belief.
Jordan Poole and Klay Thompson and Steph Curry are all cool. Like like brothers for life.
For sure.
I don't think Draymond's gonna do anything when they play each other.
Yeah, but Poole's still gonna have that edge to like go out there and drop 40 points. Obviously, as he should every single night, but it's gonna be like a little bit more special when they play the Warriors.
Oh, absolutely.
He's gonna wanna go out there and do his thing.
If Wizards grab even one dub in the Bay, you'll never hear the end of that from him.
But on the topic of players getting rated too high, we should not fail to mention the highest rated rookie in the history of the game, in the history of the NBA. This year's number 1 overall pick, Victor Wembanyama, has, before even playing an NBA game, he is rated an 84 overall. Now, I think that's a little crazy because when I was in my prime years of playing 2K, rookies were lucky to crack an 80 overall. This dude jumped the gun by a lot and is already at an 84. And I think this right here kills the discussion of Wembanyama being way more overhyped than Zion. Because Zion was only rated an 81 when he first got into the league. Now, I think that's totally irrelevant. I'm just sitting here talking shit just because I believe Wembanyama is a lot more overhyped than Zion when they were coming to the league. But a lot of people seem to disagree. But those people are wrong. Because an 84 for a rookie who played 2 summer league games and has not stepped a foot on an actual NBA court yet, like an 84 is kind of absurd. If he plays like an 80, I don't want to say he plays like an 84 overall. If he does his thing this year, yeah, sure. But like Paolo Banchero just won the Rookie of the Year. He had a lot of great games, played great this year. He's only rated an 84. Tyrese Maxey, who was great, pivotal part of that Philly team, he was only rated an 84. And then guys like CJ, I don't want to say Vucevic because he's shit. But like DeAndre Ayton, like I think that's a little crazy. I don't know what you guys think about that. But
it's absurd because LeBron, when he first entered the league, he was a 78 for his 2K rating. And I know that was years ago before they were even making ratings like this. And like you said, rookies were very lucky if they got an 80. I think Ronnie 2K even asked Wemby, he was like, what do you think it's going to be by the end of the season? And I think he said 90. his summer league performance, his first game wasn't that great. His second game, he kind of picked it up a bit, but we'll have to see him play out of his mind if he wants to get a 90 overall.
Yeah.
Definitely possible. I mean, I feel like him having a season 2K will just give it to him because that's what it seems like they're doing now. But so it's definitely possible if this guy has like a solid season where he scores over 22, 23 points. I think he could definitely crack like a high 80 or possibly even a 90. I don't think 90. I feel like that's a big jump. And there's going to be some talks about that when those ratings come out next year for 2K25. But it's possible he becomes a high 80. I mean, shit, he's already halfway there. He's an 84. There's no way they're going to put him lower. I mean, there's a possibility, but regardless of how he plays this season, he'll probably be an 84 next year, say if he has a shit year or if he gets hurt or something.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it's weird that, like, I mean, you guys hit on pretty much every point. He's rated too high. I agree with you guys. I think that 2K, if anything, should have like a bar for the top draft picks in the league. And what I mean by that is, like, in 2K, you know how there's like really no 99 overalls. It tops out really at 98. I don't think anyone's really ever broken that, like, in the regular season.
The last one was LeBron in 2014. He was the last
Okay.
99 overall.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, I think that they should have kind of like a cap out point, especially for rookies, because we may know that, oh, this is the number one guy. Okay, make him an 80 overall, make him, what he's good at, what his attributes and all that good stuff. But then, just leave him at 80. We haven't even seen him play. To me, what I think of almost immediately is the fact that, what if this, God forbid, what if this kid goes into his first game and just gets hurt and doesn't play a single minute of the rest of the season, right? Then we're just playing around with this 84 overall imaginary style of player that we think Wemby would be in the league, but we don't know. So yeah, I mean, I just don't know how they can justify making him an 84 overall when he hasn't stepped foot on a court yet. It's just random to me. But 2K in general, last night me and Victor were playing together, and I forget what teams we were, but point is, we were looking at each of the players that we played with. We were looking at each of the players that we were playing with, like attributes and badges and things like that. And I saw at the bottom corner something that I've never seen on a 2K before, which was the personality traits. I don't play a lot of 2K, so maybe that's been there for a long time. But the crap that I saw on there was ridiculous. Like, there was the one that got me was, this player responds best to getting patted on the back. Like, you're kidding me. You're kidding me. They couldn't, first of all, you could have rephrased that differently and just said, like, this player responds well to positive reinforcement. And that was one too. But just overall, very strange that they have these random, things that they kind of put together and they say, oh, this player's that. We don't know, especially with the rookies and especially with Wemby. We have no idea how he's going to play against guys that are maybe a little bit stronger than him, or defensive players that are quicker. All these things are unknowns. So I don't know.
I think the only reason that they did rate him at 84 was because he's a really hyped rookie coming into the league. We've never seen a player like him and his play style. And I think the reason that they rated him 84 is because when people are gonna buy 2K specifically just to play with Wemby in the game, and they're gonna want to play with him being good in 2K, not him being a 76 overall and he doesn't have any badges, or he can't even make a layup.
For sure. But again, I still make the point that we haven't seen him play. Maybe he is a 76 overall. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I think that has to do with, some of it is just like that people want to play with Wemby in 2K, and that had to go into some of his rating, not just off his game. Because like you said, we haven't seen him play, and no rookie has ever been rated this high, so it's kind of absurd for 2K to do this.
I guess I didn't think about that, but that's true. 2K is obviously in the business of making money, and even if Wemby did go out this season, people would be pissed if they couldn't play with him and he was good.
So we're going to take a little pause here to introduce our most recent bit, introducing He's Him, starring him.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the second installment of Nah, He's Him, starring him, aka OG Mike Miles. Today we're playing the San Antonio Spurs, and by golly, folks, It is going to be a fun one, as you will see later in the video. We're dealing with some injuries to the roster today. As you can see, Jason Tatum is out, and we have Robert Williams starting in his place. And by golly, folks, is that who I think it is? Ime Udoka making an appearance on the Spurs bench. Anyway, folks, we were playing like shit a majority of this game. We were getting our asses kicked. I'm throwing a pass to the corner. I think that's Hayward. Didn't get there. Kyrie, clearly frustrated. How is he going to respond, though? He's going to throw the fucking ball right to DeRozan, and we're back on defense. Outside, I'm driving it in. Back out to Kyrie. Yeah, he really decided not to show up this game. Inside, Rob Williams.
Here goes Kyrie!
And another miss for the boy. Really not his night tonight. Anyway, I'm back on defense. I'm trying to guard DeRozan. He's blowing right by me with the cross, slamming it, and holy shit. Anyway, Rob Williams bailing us out with the free throw. We're running on offense. Over to Hayward. Pull up midi. Is that one going in? Fuck no, that ain't going in. Anyway, folks, we're getting the rebound. We're running with it out to Kyrie. We're going to let him cook here. And by cook, I mean turn the fucking ball over in the middle of the paint. He's not having a game, but we do have a B teammate grade. Brad Stevens, not impressed with our efforts. So how do we respond, folks? Boston Celtics culture. We're throwing the lob, and we're getting dunked on right out the gate of the second half. Kyrie with the ball, throws it back to DeRozan. He's really playing like shit, as you know. And at this point, folks, we see the LaMarcus Aldridge second half takeover. Man, look at some of these shots. This guy was not missing. It's like he didn't score any in 2K. Just wanted him to get some points. This dude is just going crazy. But back to Rob Williams. Anyway, folks, here's some more LaMarcus Aldridge buckets. Absolutely cooking our entire defense. We stood no chance against number 12 in black. So I'm over here, over to Rob. Oh, no. Rob goes down with an injury. This is the last thing we needed right now. No Tatum, no Rob. Who's going to guard LaMarcus? The answer is nobody. He's going in again. More buckets. Absolute takeover. Until it wasn't a takeover anymore. LaMarcus Aldridge down. It's time for our offense to rally. Horford with the board. I'm running the break. And I'm making a little layup. You know how it is. You know I'd be taking it to the hoop. I'm trying to get fouled. Cunningham for three. Boom. Bro did not miss either. This was an absolute clinic on us. But Rob Williams is back in. 18.8 seconds. Check the score, folks. 116 to 119. I'll let the rest of the clips do the talking.
Green fuck nigga.
That's right, folks. Gordon Hayward came through, the team clown. Final seconds of the game. Over to Cunningham. Is that going in? Fuck no, that's not going in. We're going to overtime, baby. We're hyped. At this point, Gordon Hayward decided to start feeling himself.
Green fuck nigga.
Gordon Hayward, the unspoken savior of this Celtics squad. At this point, I'm getting caught on fucking defense, trying to guard Patty Mills. That's going down. Inside. Little pass to Horford, looking like Magic Johnson out here. Missed three. Oh, no. The second time Rob has gotten injured. This has got to be it for him. Not a good look for our team. I should mention, folks, we are in the double OT now. Manu Ginobili for three. Boom. I had to cut the rest of OT because nothing really fucking happened, let's be honest. Get that shit out of here, bitch. LaMarcus Aldridge getting stuffed. Anyways, coming back on the other end. He's hitting a nice little post hook. Anyway, folks, we're down 2. We're throwing it over to Horford. I'm getting the back cut on Patty Mills, and I'm putting that shit in. MVP chance around the garden. Never forget him is him.
He needs some milk.
LaMarcus Aldridge with a costly jump ball forced by Jaylen Brown. They're winning the tip. Over to DeJounte Murray. Is that going in? Fuck no, that's not going in. That's right, folks. We have a triple OT thriller tonight in Boston. The planes are late, and we're staying for a little more action. Anyway, starting us off, Pau Gasol with a Kobe-esque baseline fadeaway. I've never seen him hit that fucking shot in my life. Anyway, I'm coming back, coming down, getting fouled, and one on their fucking head. We are tied here in Boston. We're going to skip ahead a little bit. We're down 1 in this play. Kyrie taking over, finally coming through. I'm getting the steal. Yeah, went up for the lay. And I smoked that shit. Anyway, we're down 3 now. I'm coming down the court. I'm about to take it up on Murray. Getting fouled. MVP chance throughout the entire crowd. Down goes number 1. I'm getting it back. Down goes number 2. Boom. Takeover activated. Marcus Smart with the steal. He's throwing it up to Kyrie. The Kyrie takeover is on us, folks. Boom. Down goes the dunk, and we're up 1. Are we going to finish this game out? Over to Kyrie for the dagger. Boom! Down goes number 2. I'm getting the assist, and this game is over, folks. It doesn't even matter if the shot goes in. We're winning by 5. What a performance. 45, 8, and 18. Folks, we had an all-around effort in the absence of Tatum tonight. Jaylen Brown, Kyrie Irving, Al Horford, serviceable efforts. Dante Cunningham, LaMarcus Aldridge could not be stopped, but folks, I thank you for watching episode 2 of He's Him. Tune in next week. Thanks.
So the FIBA basketball tournament is completely underway, or at least getting there. The other day, USA played Lucaless Slovenia, and it's pretty much what everyone expected. USA came up with the win, 92-62. Some of the top scorers from that game, Jalen Brunson led the way, 15 points, or Anthony Edwards, actually, led the way, 15 points, Jalen Brunson with 11, and Tyrese Halliburton and Austin Reeves with 10. But I didn't really want to speak on the tournament too much. I feel like the USA is definitely going to come out on top. But one thing I did want to talk about was I believe that USA basketball has a little bit of a culture issue in trying to get the best players out there to actually play. Because I feel like the last time that the Team USA sent out the best team that they possibly could have was that Redeem team or that team in 2010 or whenever it was, pretty much. So, like, just looking at the list, the highest scoring player of that game was Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards is great, but if they did send out the best 13 players that they possibly could have, he probably wouldn't even make the team, or he would be coming off the bench because, there's players that don't like to play. But when you look at other teams, they're sending out the best players that they possibly can, and these international players that are in the NBA have no problem playing with their country teams in these playoffs. Like, they are excited to do it. They will want to represent their country wherever they come from. So I kind of believe that Team USA has a little bit of a culture issue with that. I don't know what you guys' thoughts are on that. Maybe they shouldn't send out their best players because they can win with not as good players. But I don't know. I don't know what you guys think about that.
So I definitely agree with you. There's definitely a culture issue. Not a lot of players that are the best in the league want to perform well for their country. And I guess you could make a lot of different arguments with this. You could say that it's political and that, they don't support the things that the government does, and so they don't even feel like a sense of pride when they wear the American flag. You could also say that because of all of these oversaturated contracts, these players are very not individualistic or independent, but more so just they don't want to risk getting injured and risking their money, which is the season. They have no interest in playing for purely, I don't know if you'd call it nationalism, but for pride of the country. And that's something that we see more so with the foreigner players, right? And they are not only passionate, but they desperately want to beat the USA at their own game, for their home country. That's just a big deal to them. I think there's a lot of sides to this, as probably the people who run the USA team, they're probably thinking what you said at the end, Kevin, which is, if we're winning with these guys, why would we switch it up? You know what I mean? We don't even need to bring in the A team right now if we're winning. But there's also just an issue, I think, with FIBA basketball, because I think for the first time, this year, more so than other years, a lot of eyes were on the FIFA World Cup and seeing the USA succeed, right? There was a lot of people that really wanted to see USA beat England, I think, in the group stages. And it was so funny. Everyone was making memes. Everyone was really invested in seeing the USA soccer team do well. And we just don't have that same level of attention, or we don't have that same level of interest in FIBA basketball at all. If that were to get better, and if more people were to get interested in that, I think the NBA players would follow that, and they would kind of would go along. Yeah, no, there's definitely an issue with players just not wanting to play for the flag. They don't care enough, and I think that should change.
I think maybe they take it for granted, like you said. Maybe it's their contract. Our NBA players from the U.S. think that maybe they're too good enough to play for the Team USA, and that they don't have to prove anything. The Team USA is just going to win every year, because that was the case for a while, that Team USA was winning all the time. But now these European teams are getting good, and we're starting to see more players getting drafted from Europe, and Team USA has kind of been on the decline with these NBA players. Even Gilbert Arenas was you see that list Steve Kerr got, it's a sorry-ass group. he said, I'm happy for the people who make it. It's cool. It's cool for some guys who got there that I don't know, but some of them probably don't even start on their team. And I don't think that the list that they got this year is that bad. I think that they could still win with that roster. And a lot of these European stars in the NBA, it seems like they've been getting injured. I think Giannis is not going to be able to play this year because he's hurt. And then we saw Luka. He didn't play with Slovenia because he was hurt. But I think the Team USA's got a pretty good chance at winning it this year.
I think they definitely do. I mean, they definitely will. I feel like a lot of kind of like going back to what Daniel said. Most people I feel like aren't interested in Team USA FIBA basketball. It's because they know they're gonna win. Like it's Team USA. These are the best players. Like then, like American NBA players are definitely. Actually, I'm not even gonna say they're the best because the top 3 players in the NBA and MVP voting the past few years have been international. But I feel like you guys kind of trying to get what I'm getting at. They'll probably have a better overall, more talented team. But a lot of these teams like Spain is a pretty good team and they play well with each other. They play with each other a lot. A lot of these guys in the NBA, they don't ever really play with each other. They always play against each other. Like these like international teams practice throughout the year a lot. The Team USA doesn't really do that. They're obviously focused on their actual NBA teams that they're on. But this kind of led to another question that I wanted to ask you guys is, do you think the USA is better off sending out the best possible team they can and risk kind of like the A team not correlating with each other and kind of like egos get in the way? Or do you think they're better off sending out a team like this where they have stars, but there's also a lot of other just solid, really good players and guys that don't even start on their team to kind of fill in those gaps a little bit more to where players can like take a step back and don't necessarily have to be a leader compared to a team where everyone's damn near a leader and would be the best player on their team? So what do you guys think would be a better idea to like a way to send out a team to Olympics or FIBA basketball?
So the first thing that comes to mind for me is when me and Victor were watching Slovenia. Is that how you say it? Slovenia versus the US. I remember saying to Victor that Slovenia is boring to watch because they play a very structured and organized type of ball, and a lot of these international teams do. And it makes the game move, I don't know if it's slower or just maybe less interesting, but there's obviously a lot less flash to those games because they are just playing the most perfect high school type of offense you could imagine, right? Just pass, corner cutting, it's just like very simple stuff, but they do it to such a high efficiency that it works. And I think that that's a big reason why those foreigner guys work well within a system in the NBA, because they already know how to do, the basic stuff. All they have to work on is becoming more individualistic and more of a scorer by themselves. And that's something that they get like that really quickly. So to answer your question, I think that in order to do that, right, in order to beat a very highly efficient, structured basketball team, you need to play the same level of ball or the same type of ball, right? Flashy one-on-ones, ISOs are not going to win you a basketball game. And so to me, with a team that has younger players that are willing to kind of listen to Steve Kerr and the rest of the coaching staff and say, hey, we're going to play the way you want us to play. And Steve Kerr knows that he wants to play an organized style of ball. So I think that would give them a better shot than if you were to have like, LeBron, Curry, Giannis, because you have so many players that are great in the one-on-one. You don't even know who to go to. And then you have a lot of players just holding onto the ball too long, making stupid turnovers, things like that, having off nights and not shooting well. And then that's when these international teams beat them because, again, they're just incredibly efficient and organized and they play really good ball. So again, I think that playing playing without the A team and playing with the B team, but with more organization, I think is the better route to go.
I'm going to go a little bit of a different route than what you asked, Kevin, just because I think this would be a little bit more of a fair response. If you were to ask the top guys, I guarantee you some of them would say yes, some of them would say no. I understand that if we were to assemble a dream team of like the top guys in the NBA, Curry, Book, KD, LeBron, and Anthony Davis, they'd beat all these international players. I don't think that's really necessary.
Booker.
I think we should. He was like.
I'm just kidding. I know. I'm just kidding.
But if we gathered this whole squad of like the top NBA players in the league from the US, I think they'd kill the international teams. I think we should maybe ask some of them and then ask some rookies and sophomore NBA players. So we get like a good mix of the Team USA to play and send that squad out just so that those young guys are getting interested in playing in Team USA and they're getting experience with playing with these top level NBA players as well.
Ask him then. No, I'm just messing.
Well-
I definitely see what you mean. It makes a lot of sense, but obviously the dream team or that version of the dream team to send out would obviously murder these international teams just because the level of talent is just so superior. Like they wouldn't stand a chance. But I think having a team with at least a few of the top players in the league. So say if they sent out Curry, if they sent out KD and Tatum, and then fill it the rest with guys like Anthony Edwards and other role players. And also having like a really like solid system of coaching like Steve Kerr or Coach K that they had in the past, then they're obviously not going to be beaten. Regardless, Team USA, in the end, when it comes down to it, they're not going to be beaten by any of these teams. But it is 100% possible. It's been done before. It wouldn't be a taboo thing. To close out today's episode, we're going to be talking about whether some of these players are deserving to be future Hall of Famers or not. The Hall of Fame introduction was held the other day. I can't remember which day it was. But we saw guys like Dwayne Wade and get Tony Parker get their flowers and inducted into the Hall of Fame. But I saw a graphic the other day, and the question was, is DeMar DeRozan a Hall of Famer? DeMar DeRozan now sits 39th on the NBA's all-time scoring list. He's right behind Chris Paul and Stephen Curry. Everyone in the top 47 scoring has or will make the Basketball Hall of Fame. So when it comes to seeing it like this, sure, he's going to make the Basketball Hall of Fame. But should he? I definitely don't think so. DeMar DeRozan's great. He was great during his time in the NBA. He still has time to win a championship. And I feel like MVP is definitely a little bit out of his bag right now. But being a key player on an NBA championship team, I think definitely could send him to the Basketball Hall of Fame. But another person that they brought up who I felt like could cause a lot of flack was Jimmy Butler. Does Jimmy Butler deserve to be in the NBA Hall of Fame or a Basketball Hall of Fame? Because I don't really think it's specified towards NBA. But I would say Jimmy Butler is definitely a lot more likely than DeMar DeRozan to make the Basketball Hall of Fame. I think Jimmy Butler will be put in the Basketball Hall of Fame just because him being one of the greatest playoff performers of all time, like people would definitely argue that he should be in there. But then again, if he doesn't win a championship, I know championship's not everything, but when you look at players that made the Hall of Fame that didn't win a championship, they were all-time greats and players that will be talked about forever, basically. And when I'm looking at DeMar DeRozan and Jimmy Butler, I don't really see them as guys like Allen Iverson or like Charles Barkley, Karl Malone, John Stockton, James Harden, Chris Paul. To me, they're just not really in the same room. And the Basketball Hall of Fame is definitely controversial. It's not really hard to make it. I mean, there's people that never played a game in the NBA that are in the Basketball Hall of Fame. So if he makes it, who gives a shit? It's clearly, I don't want to say not that hard to make the Basketball Hall of Fame, but like I said, there's people that never played in the NBA that are in it. So
yeah, I would love to see both Jimmy Butler and DeRozan in the Hall of Fame. It just we still got to see how their careers end out to say if they can make the Hall of Fame. Right now, I would probably put DeMar DeRozan in the Hall of Fame. I don't know about Jimmy Butler yet, but looking at their what they've done in their career for their accolades, Jimmy Butler is a 6-time All-Star, 5-time All-NBA, 5-time All-Defensive in the NBA, 2020 Steel Champ, Eastern Conference MVP, and he has a Most Improved under his belt as well. DeMar DeRozan's a 6-time All-Star and 3-time All-NBA. It's tough to say right now.
So you said DeRozan deserves it more than Jimmy Butler, Hall of Fame?
Like you said, that stat that what was it, top 47?
Yeah, but I feel like that to me, he sits 39th on the all-time scoring list. And he's behind Chris Paul and Curry. Everyone in the top 47 of scoring has or will make it.
That's the only reason that I said that I think DeMar DeRozan would have it over Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, I feel like Jimmy Butler's just done more. I mean, he's at least played in the finals and he has like a little bit more accolades. So I felt like he would be like a little bit more likely than DeMar DeRozan. But at this current moment, I don't think I'd put him in there, to my standards at least. I know the standards are a lot more different for the actual committee, but
yeah, I mean, you guys kind of went word for word for exactly what I was going to say. I definitely, it's hard to say because DeMar DeRozan has the numbers and the data to prove it. But if we're talking about potential and like over the course of the next 5 years, who has the potential to make their career more of a Hall of Fame worthy career, I think that's Jimmy Butler. Like you said, he just has more accolades, has been to more of these places where Hall of Famers are made. And I think overall he's probably done more to me as just like a viewer and a fan to make it to the Hall of Fame. But again, it's hard to say that because if the numbers and the data supports DeRozan being the higher score, then it just it's kind of tough.
Chicago Bulls legends for sure, but
Mhm.
so's D-Rose. Hopefully he can crack it into the Hall of Fame. He definitely should. I'll
You-
go to war with this take.
I definitely think he would. And like you said, the NBA or the Basketball Hall of Fame is so easy to, not so easy, I shouldn't say that, but it's relatively easy compared to other sports to enter the Hall of Fame. I definitely think that at the end of their careers, DeMar DeRozan and Jimmy Butler will probably make the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, they probably will. I don't know how I feel about Derrick Rose making the Hall of Fame because, like, I agree. I think he does, but I could also see someone saying, did he do enough? Just because he didn't have a very long career, and unfortunately, that's always going to be something that people will say. But in the short span that he had a career, he did a lot, and he did something that's to me worthy of a Hall of Fame spot. And I've seen. I think the NBA likes Derrick Rose, and like all of the social media platforms that talk about basketball, they're a big fan of Derrick Rose. I mean, he's regularly on my feed at least once a year just for being Derrick Rose. And yeah, I mean, I think he'll probably make the Hall of Fame too.
Well, whenever a new guard in the NBA is explosive and dunking like crazy, like Ja, they're ultimately compared to D Rose.
See, he definitely gets the popular vote to get into the Hall of Fame. But I feel like the accolades definitely match up too. I mean, he never made the finals, but youngest MVP ever at 22 years of age. I mean, at 22 years of age, I'm going to be doing this. This dude was a player in the NBA. He led the Bulls to the first seed in the Eastern Conference Finals with that Miami team, that just dominant ass team, which I think is definitely worthy of getting mentioned. But all right, that concludes another episode of Good Morning Let's Basketball. We apologize for the delay, but we're back. We're back at it again, hopefully to get on that consistent upload schedule. Make sure you guys follow us on TikTok and Instagram. You can see our reels. Don't be afraid to share them. And also leave a comment below and also on our other social medias as well, interacting with us. We would like to debate with you guys. That being said, we'll see you guys next week. Thank you for watching.